an original MCM production.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting of the Operations Committee to order, and would the Secretary please record the roll?
Commissioner Bohl?
Here.
Commissioner Devine?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson is excused. Commissioner Martinsek is excused. Commissioner Krieger?
Here.
Commissioner Hermes?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you. Our next item on our agenda is the approval of the proceedings from the regular committee meeting held September 11th and a special committee meeting held in September 25th.
So moved.
Second? Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Bohl and seconded by Commissioner Hermes. Seeing no further discussion, I'm going to call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. The minutes are adopted. We move on to organization and administration. Kevin?
Good morning, Commissioners. We have our Green Luminary Award today, and Andy Kaminsky is going to present that. We've got several people here to receive it, so they'll all join the table here.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Andy Kaminsky, and I'm a project manager here at the district. And with me today, I got Eric Schomburger, the Director of Eco for the City of Milwaukee, Tim McCallow, the project manager for Homegrown for Eco, and Jennifer Casey, who is the Director of Communications and Development for Fondy Farmers Market. A little bit about the October Green Luminary. The Fondy Stormwater Park captures 77,000 gallons of water every time it rains through the native landscaping, bioswale, and stormwater trees that were installed. Another very cool, very unique feature on the site, which I think it's the first time in the city of Milwaukee and possibly the region, that it also captures stormwater runoff from the road, which is a great concept in this area, especially with some of the basement backups over there. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Eric and Tim and Jennifer before we play the video.
Well, I'd just like to thank you all for recognizing this project, but also for the funding that you provided, which was absolutely critical. I think the Fondy Park really captures what we're trying to do as the Environmental Collaboration Office, which is make Milwaukee a world-class eco-city, but it also supports MMSD's goals of capturing 740 million gallons of rainwater where it falls. But this project was really unique, not just capturing stormwater, but for the involvement of the community and the significance that it brings, being part of the Fondy Food Center. And I think Tim and his team did an outstanding job of listening to the public, bringing in ideas. And so there's a lot of features on the park that are not only stormwater management, but are really great community features like tables with quotes from people from the community, a stage. And so we're really excited about it. We think it really adds to the near north side, building off the renovation that's going on North Avenue and up Fond du Lac Avenue. So thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity to work with you.
And good morning. I just simply wanted to thank all of our partners. When we do these types of projects, they become wonderful, very broad public-private partnerships. And there were many, many folks that were part of the team. And I just wanted to call out Justin Haggerty of Reflow and Kara Coons of GZA, who were kind of the brains behind the stormwater management system. So we absolutely wanted them to be recognized as well. Thank you.
Good morning, and I would just like to add my thanks to the Commission for this recognition, as well as to MMSD for the funding that made this project possible. And if you've been to the Fondy Farmers Market, you know that it serves as a central community gathering space. This park, in addition to water conservation, greatly expands that role. In the past month since the park has been open, we've seen kids running and doing cartwheels in the central gathering space. We've had music in the stage every weekend, and you commonly see people sitting and talking at the tables, whether the market is open or not. So we look forward to continuing to activate the space and to continue the project.
It is a market that has a history of 100 years, bringing fresh food access to an area that definitely needs it.
We were asked to try to do something with this very long-term vacant lot, 30 to 40 years.
This site had nothing going on. We received complaints from neighbors, from shoppers, from vendors.
We decided to make it the city's state-of-the-art stormwater park.
Literally showing how we're greeting Milwaukee on our path to becoming a world-class eco-city.
This site is almost 100% permeable. We've got the bioswale here to the left, the sod here, crushed granite, and then on the other side, an urban prairie. We've got a prairie only 1 mile from downtown.
A few weeks ago, there was a major rain event. All of the water that was coming off of this pavilion, this structure, being channeled into this bioswale. So you would see a river of water flowing through the rock beds into the bioswale as it slowly began to fill up.
So this space can handle 77,000 gallons of stormwater on site.
We're actually taking water off the street into the site. Water that would normally go into the combined sewer system is now coming onto the Fondy site.
I think a lot of the residents appreciate the fact that we care about their basements not flooding.
You think about cities that you like to visit when you're on vacation. There's cities that have green space, that have trees. And so we're trying to inject more of that into Milwaukee's neighborhoods.
All right, with that, I'd like to present the October Green Luminary to Eco and Fondy Farmers Market for their great work in project.
Thank you.
Much.
Very well done. Thank you.
I would like to highlight something Andy said, which is the city allowing water on the public property to flow onto private property. I know that's something that is not normally done. And I think having the partnership that we have with the city of Milwaukee to be able to do that is something. So I want to thank them for doing that. And it's a great project. Thank you. That concludes the report.
Okay, thank you, and the board certainly adds its congratulations to all of the participants in that project. It was very creative. Thank you. More, Kevin?
No, that concludes the report.
Okay, then we'll go on to our new business, file number 1. Or item number 1, file number 17-094-10, which is an award of contract, and I think Mike Martin is going to give us details on that. Thank you.
Good morning, Mike Martin, Director of Technical Services. The Commission is requested to award and to direct the Executive Director to execute on behalf of the District Contract J06064C01 Jones Island and South Shore Gaseous Fire Suppression Systems and South Shore Administration Building renovation to Next Electric LLC in the amount of $1,296,620. Further, the Commission is requested to decrease the total project cost for Project J06064 Gaseous Fire Suppression Systems by $77,439 for an amended total project cost of $867,626. To increase the total project cost for Project S06028 Central Control Building Hydrogen Sulfide Removal System by $435,155 for an amended total project cost of $1,471,291, and to make a corresponding change to the total project cost for Project M99001 Allowance for Cost and Schedule Changes. There we go. So there are 5 locations between Jones Island and South Shore that house computer control equipment that are critical for the operations of the plant. They do not have fire suppression systems. And if a fire did control, that damage could result in loss of control of the plant process, increased risk of permit violations, and then potential damage, obviously, to the equipment itself. We assessed it at up to possibly $4 million if fires did occur. There's just some of the computer control equipment. Jones Island. So that's the computer control equipment and the fire suppression concerns at South Shore. H2S, hydrogen sulfide, it's a corrosive gas, and it's present in low levels in the central control building at South Shore, which is located between two clarifiers. The H2S levels exceed standards for operation of computer servers. So we've seen increased failure of the computer control equipment because they're exposed to some levels of H2S. Just note that the H2S levels don't exceed human health and safety standards. So what we saw was an opportunity here at the South Shore Administration Building. There's a room in the administration building that's currently unused. So we said, well, instead of installing equipment that would clean up the air, let's simply move that control equipment to a different building that is located very far away from the H2S, and renovate that room, that space, and move all that equipment and the people that are located in that room up to the new administration building. So that's what this project will do in part. And Veolia Water has worked with us on that relocation. They'll assist in the move. And the H2S problem area is right there, and they would move up to this building away from the H2S sources. So under this contract, we will have the contractor install gaseous fire suppression systems, three places at Jones Island, 2 at South Shore. There's a lot of ancillary work associated with that. And then also renovate the South Shore Administration Building to create a new control center. So note we found some asbestos that needs to be abated. There's also a new emergency generator at that control location that will be taken out and installing a new one. Location of where some of the fire suppression systems will be installed at Jones Island, the D&D building, 2 places, at South Shore. Here's the room that we will be, it's an unused lab space. We'll be tearing out a lot of equipment and turning it into a new location where that control equipment will be installed. Showing the revised layout of the room. The duration is about 1.5 years. It's jointly funded by 2 separate projects, a Jones Island project and a South Shore project. Again, you note in the request, part of the budget came in higher, part of the budget came in lower. We've accounted for all that in the 2018 budget, so it's all accounted for as part of the capital budget. And Neil will make a $10,000 contribution. Answer any questions?
Seeing no questions,
Move approval.
Second.
by Commissioner Hermes and seconded by Commissioner Bohl. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Is there anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 2 is file number 17095-10, and it's an award of contract for the South Shore Water Reclamation Facility return activated sludge system improvements. Once again, Mike Martin.
Commissioners requested to award and to direct the Executive Director to execute on behalf of the district contract S02013C01 South Shore Water Reclamation Facility Return Activated Sludge System Improvements to JF Ahern Company in the amount of $1,825,000. Further, the Commission is requested to decrease the total project cost for project S02013 Aeration Galleries RAS Header Piping Rehab by $339,378 for an amended total project cost of $2,758,109, and to make a corresponding change to the total project cost for project M99001, allowance for cost and schedule changes. Further, the Commission is requested to restore the Executive Director's original delegated authority on contract S02013D01 Engineering Services South Shore Water Reclamation Facility Return Activated Sludge System Improvements Project. So the biologic process at South Shore is part of the overall treatment process. We have aeration basins. There's microorganisms that are supplied with air. And that whole process, we refer to it as activated sludge. The activated sludge is separated from the treated water by gravity and the secondary clarifiers. That activated sludge is returned to the beginning of the biologic treatment plant. It's called return activated sludge because you return it back to the head of the treatment system. Do that by use of pumping and a piping system. So the piping system itself has both suction and discharge piping system on the taking end and the receiving end. So the suction piping goes from the secondary clarifiers to RAS pumps, and then RAS pumps take it back to the head of the plant. Again, there's a RAS pumps here. They pull the return activated sludge off these clarifiers and then return it back up to the aeration basins, to the head of the aeration basins. That piping system is over 30 years old. We've had numerous breaks in that piping system, which creates obviously operational problems. And also if the parts of the system are out of service, it can decrease our wet weather treatment capacity. Obviously repairs and interruptions in service. So we're proposing under this project to replace some of that corroded pipe. Just pictures of the piping system itself. These are very large diameter pipes. Also see, which I'll talk about a little more in a second here, the RAS pumps. Today there are 8 RAS pumps. They all have 125 million gallons per day pumping capacity if all of them are operating. So we don't have any redundancy for that RAS pumping system. If one pump's out of service, then our total capacity for return activated sludge pumping is reduced. That again could possibly reduce overall wet weather treatment capacity. What we're proposing to do is add 2 pumps. This is the overall scope, replacing the discharge piping and adding 2 new pumps and all the associated equipment, and also 2 variable frequency drives which control the speed of the motors. It's about a 2-year-long project. Our bid did come in less than budgeted, so we're requesting to decrease the total project cost, and Really Water will make a $30,000 contribution to this project. The other part of this request is related to the original engineering contract, which was authorized by the commission to Arcadis. So they performed all the design work, and then they also have construction. The authority to amend that contract is $50,000. We utilized all of that authority as a result of some changes during the design, and we're requesting to restore that authority in case additional engineering services are needed beyond those already scoped. Can I answer any questions?
Mike, I read through as far as the SWIMBY participation, but I didn't quite understand what was the actual SWIMBY goal. Or I know the goal was 20%.
That's correct, yes.
But what was the actual SWIMBY participation?
Sure,
I'm not sure.
It's 12.6% is the actual participation.
Okay.
And it's on the procurement form, on the first page of the procurement form, you'll see that information.
Okay. And I understand the reasons why that turned out to be that way, I guess. Is there any other questions?
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Hermes, and I think Commissioner Bowl beat Commissioner the mayor of West Dallas to the punch on that one. So with that, if there's no other discussion, I will call the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Our item 3 is file number 17-096-10. It's a contract for engineering services regarding landfill gas processing. Mike?
Commission is requested to authorize the Executive Director to execute on behalf of the district contract P02004D02 Engineering Services Landfill Gas Processing Facility, Metro Recycling and Disposal Facility with Kapoor and Associates Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $974,786. Note that this authorization is contingent upon Commission authorization of a waste management landfill gas supply and purchase agreement. Background here, so Commissioners are aware, there's an existing landfill gas system. We own and operate a pipeline that today transports landfill gas from the Emerald Park landfill, owned by Advanced Waste, to Jones Island. We have a long-term contract for supply of that landfill gas from the Emerald Park landfill. Once we get that gas up to Jones Island, we use it in our turbines to generate electricity for plant use, and then the waste heat off the turbines is used for drying the biosolids. As a picture, again, that processing facility is owned by Advanced Disposal. Here's the pipeline. This is the Emerald Park landfill down in Muskego. Pipeline goes up to Jones Island. We use it, here's Jones Island, there's the metering station, and we have turbine generators that use that landfill gas. So Waste Management, they own a landfill right across the street from the Emerald Park landfill. They also produce landfill gas, which today they currently use to generate electricity. So here's our current source, Emerald Park, and then there's a landfill right across the street, the Waste Management Metro landfill. So we've talked to Waste Management and we've evaluated the situation. Additional landfill gas could reduce the district's energy costs and provide us with additional sources of renewable energy. As commissioners are aware, we have negotiated a potential purchase of landfill gas from Metro, and those basic terms have been outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding. We're right now negotiating a final agreement with Waste Management. Under those terms, the district will be responsible for designing, building, owning, and operating a new landfill gas processing facility with a connection to the existing landfill gas pipeline. Waste Management would then sell the raw landfill gas to the district. We will then process, transport that landfill gas for use at Jones Island. So again, under the MOU, we'll be responsible for designing and building this system, a processing facility, a new connection that ties into the existing pipeline. So the proposed contract under this request is that Kapoor would perform final design services for new landfill gas processing and connecting pipeline, prepare plans and specs, and also engineering services during construction, startup services, and application engineering services. Again, this request is contingent upon given that we don't have a final landfill gas agreement, that's not yet finalized, and that there's some risk that agreement would not be executed. We're proposing authorization of this contract be contingent upon Commission authorization to execute the full landfill gas supply agreement. That allows us to get this contract ready, lined up, everything prepared to go except for the final execution. It allows us then to quickly proceed with the design work once that agreement is executed. Projects within budget, once authorized, the duration would be 27 months. Can answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, a motion would be in order.
Approval.
Again.
Moved by Commissioner Bohl and seconded by Commissioner Hermes. I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Motion passes. Move on to item number 4, which is file number 17-097-10, a contract for engineering services. Mike?
Commissioners requested to authorize the Executive Director to execute on behalf of the district contract W20028D01 Engineering Services Western Milwaukee Flood Management Project Phase 2B with Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated in an amount not to exceed $1,339,180. So we have an overall Menominee River Watercourse Management Plan. There are 32 total projects that are part of that plan. 21 are complete. We have 11 remaining. So Western Milwaukee is one of that series of projects. The overall plan includes flood management with watercourse restoration, reduces flood risk for 319 structures, and then also restores aquatic and riparian habitat. This is the overall plan. There's the Menominee River watershed. All of the purple stars are projects that have been completed, and the green dots are those projects which have not yet been constructed. And right there's the Western Milwaukee Phase 2B project. So the Western Milwaukee project focuses on the Menominee River between Hart Park and US Highway 175. It's located both in Wauwatosa and Milwaukee. The overall project consists of design and construction of a levee and flood wall system, floodplain lowering, and then interior drainage system modifications. There are 3 phases to this project, 1, 2A, and 2B. The overall project, there's Wisconsin 175, 63rd Street. We have completed Phase 1 and 2A, and what the proposed contract here is to perform design on the Phase 2B, which is right in this area, and then also on the eastern portion. There's some railroad tracks that go through here, which are important in this project. Pictures of the existing system. A little hard to tell. It's a relatively low levee that's been constructed. WPA, it's existing WPA wall over here to the left. And then again, there's a levee system that we've constructed through there. So again, 3 phases. We've constructed 1 and 2A, and 2B is the next part. The proposed contract originally was to perform design and prepare bid package for Phase 2B. Just some background on the Phase 2B, we completed preliminary engineering in 2014. In July, we issued an RFP for that final design based on the preliminary engineering, and we received 4 proposals. So all of that work, when we issued the RFP, was based on these set of improvements. And of note, at the time, we had approval for a floodgate system on the Canadian Pacific Railroad Bridge over the Menominee River. So we'd worked with CPR, and they had told us in 2014 that a floodgate system was a feasible alternative. So basically, to prevent the water in the river from getting onto the land, we had to construct a way to shut off the railroad as a point of entry for the water, so a floodgate system on the railroad itself, which was going to be challenging in of itself. After we had issued the RFP, Canadian Pacific notified us that while they originally had said that they were certainly open to a floodgate system, that simply was not going to be a feasible alternative. So now we have to go back and redo some work that was originally performed to provide that desired flood protection. And we have preliminary engineering. The basis for the request for proposal was this system, proposed flood wall system. It's hard to see, but there would be a gate system going right across the railroad tracks right through there. So what we're recommending is that we authorize the originally proposed contract amount, and we would add a new scope, which would be an updated alternatives analysis and design recommendation, since we can no longer do the floodgate system. And we have some pretty solid ideas on how to proceed in the future. That new scope would add $650,000 to the original contract. Since we don't know now what we're going to design for the final, or perform in the final design, we would then remove $650,000, so it's a net no change in this proposed contract. After we've gone through the preliminary engineering, we would update the design fee and negotiate and come back to the commission for a final contract based on what we come up with, as we have to kind of redo some of that work. So the requested contract is within budget. The contract duration is 52 months, but it's possible to change given the design uncertainty at this point. Can answer any questions.
Seeing no questions. Yes, Kathy.
So when you have a 52-month contract, does that mean it's going to be another couple of years before this is going to get completed?
So the 52 months includes work after the construction was done to make sure the vegetation is established properly. So that's why it's such a long duration. We usually, on water course projects, have a lot of vegetation that needs to get established. So those durations are deceiving, and that the work, the actual construction work should happen before that.
Okay. And then the railroad, did I understand correctly that the railroad changed its mind after? And is this floodgate, is it actual gate that would stop water from?
Yeah, originally they were open to that concept, that it would be a gate that would go across the railroad and keep the water out of the area to be protected. There's operational challenges with that, and I think as they thought about it more, they said it's just not acceptable to do.
Okay.
We have there have also been some changes in how FEMA looks at alternatives that originally we didn't think would work. So we do have some alternatives we think will work without having to do a floodgate.
All right. Thank you.
Commissioner Hermes.
Would Canadian Pacific Railway participate in this cost at all?
No.
Any other questions? Seeing none, a motion would be in order.
Approval.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Bowl and seconded by Commissioner Devine. Call the vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. That concludes the Operation Committee's agenda for today. Thank you, everybody. And I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Bowl, seconded by Commissioner Devine. All those in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.
Good morning. I would like to convene the meeting of the Policy and Finance and Personnel Committee for today, Monday, October 9th, 2017. Madam Secretary, record the roll.
Commissioner Bowl?
Here.
Commissioner Eli?
Here.
Commissioner Perez is out of the room. Commissioner Swan?
Here.
Commissioner Mansonet?
Here.
Commissioner Hermes?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Outstanding. We'll begin with the request for approval of proceedings of the regular committee meeting held September 11th, 2017.
So, second.
Outstanding. So we have a motion accepted by Commissioner Bowl, seconded by Commissioner Eli. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved. New business. I'm going to ask Mark Kaminsky to do a presentation on the Operations and Maintenance proposed budget for our committee.
Okay, Mark Kaminsky, Director of Finance and Treasurer. Item 5, the Commission is asked to consider the 2018 proposed operations and maintenance budget. Adoption of the 2018 operations maintenance budget will be requested at the October 23rd, 2017 Commission meeting. The Executive Director's 2018 proposed O&M budget provides for total expenditures of $101,950,763. That is broken down as follows: $48,185,452 for the net Veolia Water Milwaukee service fee, $39,045,948 for net division expenditures, $11,775,983 for net fringe benefits, and $2,943,380 for the unallocated reserve. The proposed expenditures are funded from $83,750,613 in user charge billings, $9,150,000 in Milwaukee net sales, $1,903,300 in other income, and $350,000 in interest income, $1,197,440 in the household hazardous waste collection program revenue, $923,411 in industrial waste pretreatment program revenue, and the return of the surplus from 2016 operations and maintenance of $7,465,849. In addition, a $175,000 contribution to the equipment replacement fund and a $2,465,000 contribution to the user charge stabilization funds are anticipated. The impact of the increase on the user charge billings of $83,750,613 is an 11.5% increase in the 2017 operations and maintenance budget. Before the committee acts on the proposed budget, I'd like to introduce one amendment that we did receive on the operations and maintenance budget. The amendment was presented by Commissioner Bohl. Proposed 2018 O&M budget includes funding for the district's household hazardous waste collection program and the Community Outreach and Business Engagement Division. The district holds a cooperation agreement with the City of Milwaukee and CVS Pharmacy to provide a mail-back prescription drug pilot program. This amendment allows the district to provide $15,000 in funding for advertising and outreach costs for the 2-year program for participating Milwaukee County municipalities. The medicine collection program is part of the household hazardous waste collection program, and the collection program is a cost recovery program for the district 18 member communities along with South Milwaukee who participate. The non-member communities at this time have not elected to participate. I should point out to the commission also with the household hazardous waste program, the district finances those costs and do not bill those costs until the following year based on the actual cost of the program. So what we have here is an increase in the household hazardous waste program revenue of $15,000 and then a $15,000 offsetting increase in the community outreach and business engagement division. Net then impact is $0. So I would ask that the committee first act on the proposed amendment. If that amendment does pass, then act on the proposed budget as amended. I'll answer any questions.
Outstanding. Is there a motion for this amendment?
I would move approval, and if there's a desire, I'd be happy to provide just a brief explanation, Mr. Chairman, too.
Commissioner,
Thank you.
Go ahead.
As commission members are aware, MMSD has been part of a broad coalition of the City of Milwaukee, Cudahy, the Milwaukee Police, Cudahy Police Department, as well as the district, in a mailback drug program that was initiated last year. That was a 3-year pilot, and it has proven thus far to be very successful. Through the course of implementing that program, I became aware of a broad coalition called Take Back Your Meds Milwaukee that has come together. That coalition has a number of members, which includes the Medical Society of Milwaukee County, Milwaukee River Keepers, Community Advocates, the 16th Street Community Health Center, and Clean Wisconsin, among others. Their efforts and endeavor are to look for increasing ways to provide for the safe remediation of prescription medications. The district was involved up to a couple of years ago in a very broad county-wide take-back program as part of increased endeavors, and particularly in the city of Milwaukee, where the Milwaukee Police Department did not, up to a couple of years ago, take back medication. When the city of Milwaukee Police Department actually implemented that, the district's broader function ended. And it was, while that, its mandate and its desire to continue to see the positive disposal of medications has not ended. And its efforts in supporting the CVS mailback program is one indication of that. This particular coalition is desiring to raise funds as part of a broader coalition to promote additional take-back efforts, including drop-off boxes at various pharmacies. There's been some success with a number of smaller ones in the community, but they also want to do additional outreach through various media sources and are looking to utilize and raise funds for those purposes. I was broached by one of the coalition members to see if MMSD would be interested in providing a little bit of seed money toward that effort. And that's what precipitated this particular budget amendment. I will say that my intent in this budget amendment is not to indicate that automatically Take Back Milwaukee is the one and only source for that. What I do want to say is that the administration here should have wide discretion to determine if funds are appropriately used and if there's an appropriate spending of the money in which the commission is going to get bang for the dollar for that purpose. So this was really set up as a special purpose account to allow discretion, assuming that there is a worthy means of utilizing these money and the district's going to get wide bang for its buck. So I would be happy to answer any questions and would encourage the committee's vote in favor of this.
Appreciate the comments. Question for the staff, real quick.
Commissioner, we do need a second on the amendment before you move forward.
Okay. I truly support this, so I would like to go on record as a second.
Okay.
I believe this is the right thing to do, but I had a question for staff. Any other comments?
I have a question as well.
Okay.
Commissioner?
Ladies first.
Did I understand correctly that the dollars would be used for the mail-back program?
No. The coalition itself, Commissioner, was looking to do radio advertising and other types of media outreach to the community. So this would be as part of the growing partnership to try to increase the number. They want to go to Walgreens, they want to go to other entities and increase the number of take-back drop-off boxes in pharmacies and solicit other means. And then the importance is on actually providing word to the community to sort of a public service announcement of getting people to utilize these. So it's a combination of the latter two as opposed to.
So it's not just mail-back? It's
this will
multiple.
actually have nothing to do with the existing mail-back program.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Awesome. And I'll turn to Commissioner Hermes.
Well, thanks. I want to acknowledge my fellow colleagues' work and leadership on this in both his own efforts a couple of years ago to adopt and generate this program, but also on his offering of this amendment for the Take Back Your Meds organization here. We all know that these medications are still continuing to end up in our waterways as pollutants and contaminants. And this is well within the MMSD purview and jurisdiction to help eradicate this type of activity. So I fully support this. And again, acknowledge the leadership of Alderman and Commissioner Bowl in this regard. Thank you.
Commissioner, thank you.
Thank you.
Well said. My key question, only back to staff, is that are you fully supportive of this activity or others that you may be aware of that you want to be in support of?
We've been active in this take-back program for a while, whether it's through the mail-in program or through the drop-off location. So we're fully supportive of this and always looking for better ways to try to get these medications off the streets.
Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'm going to take a vote on this amendment, amendment number 1. In particular, so we have a motion. It was seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved. Now, we want to come back, or we want to go through?
Now you would take up the vote on the proposed budget as amended.
As amended, okay.
I would move approval as amended.
Second.
And we have a second. Outstanding. So, I will go for a vote here on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved and the budget is amended and recommended for the full commission. Mark, you have additional presentation?
Item 6, the commission is asked to consider the 2018 proposed capital budget. In accordance with Commission Policy 1-15.02, the capital budget, the commission is asked to approve the following 3 items. The first item, total project cost. The 2018 proposed capital budget includes total project cost estimates totaling $978,751,053 for 197 capital projects that are currently active in 2017 or expected to be active during 2018. The total project cost schedules for each capital account are summarized as follows. $304,765,763 for 90 projects in the water reclamation facilities, $133,134,952 for 27 projects in the conveyance category, $412,465,317 for 40 projects in watercourse and flood management, and $128,385,022 for 40 projects in other projects. The second item is the 2018 annual capital budget itself. The 2018 proposed capital budget anticipates capital project, capital program, and debt service expenditures of $199,492,000. And they're broken down as following. $48,260,000 for water reclamation facility projects, $9,726,000 for conveyance projects, $10,164,000 for watercourse and flood management projects, and $22,428,000 for other projects, and finally $108,913,000 for debt service. These expenditures will be funded from the property tax of $98,380,000 and from these following other items. $31,256,000 in non-member capital billings, $31,514,000 in the state of Wisconsin Clean Water Fund loans, $1,812,000 in federal and state aid and grants, and $1,497,000 in interest and other income. It should be pointed out that $11,730,000 in the debt service funds are available to pay 2018 general obligation debt service, reducing the required tax levy to the amount of $98,380,000. And finally, that the capital budget also includes the use of $35,033,000 in available funds. Total available funds on hand at the beginning of 2018 is estimated to be $88.9 million. And the final item is the 6-year long-range financing plan. The long-range financing plan estimates $683,602,000 in capital project and capital program expenditures, $670,471,000 in debt service expenditures, for a combined total of $1,354,073,000 in capital expenditures for the fiscal years 2018 through 2023. The capital expenditures are expected to be funded from $652,552,000 in tax levies, $193,902,000 in non-member billings, $290 million in district-issued general obligation bonds and notes, $199,405,000 in state loans, $11,583,000 federal and state aid and grants, $7,528,000 in interest and other income, and $890,000 in additions to available funds on hand for a combined total of $1,354,073,000. I would also like to point out that the long-range financing plan maintains the district's 2 core objectives, with cash financing for the period 2018 through 2023 to be estimated at an average of 28.4%, and the outstanding debt, which is not to be greater than 2.5% of equalized value, ranges from 1.37% at the end of 2018 to 1.24% at the end of 2023. Now, before you act on the proposed capital budget, I have 2 amendments to introduce related to the proposed capital budget. I have to take a little break. The first amendment relates to the action the commission took last month related to the green infrastructure credit that will be eligible to the 10 non-member communities. This proposed amendment assumes all 10 non-member communities elect a green infrastructure. At this time, we have received notification that one has elected. They have until the end of the month. If less than 10 of the non-member communities elect for this green infrastructure credit, in other words, they opt out of the green infrastructure funding, it will only result in a surplus. So we're assuming the 10 do opt out and presenting this amendment as the most conservative. Therefore, this proposed amendment reflects a reduction in non-member billings of $1,084,000 in 2018 based on the assumption that all 10 elect that green infrastructure credit. So with that, why don't we have discussion and action on the first amendment?
On the First Amendment, I'm going to call this capital amendment number 1, the green infrastructure credit. Any discussion on that? I need a motion.
Great question.
Commissioner Bowe?
Thank you. Mark, if all 10 communities opt not to move forward here, the corresponding difference would just resort to a tax stabilization fund?
It would result in, to the bottom line, funds on hand. We'd have more cash on hand.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Move to approve.
Second. Got a motion, Commissioner Swan, and a second by Commissioner Hermes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the amendment is approved.
I would like to introduce a second amendment to the capital project. This amendment is being proposed by staff. In order to accommodate adequate resources required for further biosolids planning at district facilities, staff requests to include project M03-102 Advanced Biosolids Planning in the 2018 budget with a total project cost of $623,717. The 2018 expenditures are to be offset by a corresponding change to M99-001 allowance for cost and scheduling change in the amount of $50,000. Expenditures for the remaining years of the project were originally included in the proposed long-range financing plan. So this project was in the 6-year long-range financing plan. We're asking for an amendment to move it forward beginning into 2018. And with that,
I will name this capital amendment number 2, but under the advanced bioswales planning. Any questions in this in a motion?
Move to approve the
Second.
capital amendment number 2.
Second.
And we have it, appropriate motion by Commissioner Hermes, appropriately seconded by Commissioner Eli. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved.
With that, I would ask the commission to propose the 2018 capital budget, total project cost, and long-range financing plan as amended by capital amendments 1 and 2.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on that? Seeing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved.
The next item, the commission is requested to adopt the 2017 tax levy to fund the 2018 capital budget pursuant to Section 200.55, Section 6 of the state statutes. This is for information purposes only because it requires a 2/3 vote at the full commission. The proposed tax levy of $98,380,000 will fund the district's general obligation debt service payments for district-issued bonds and Clean Water Fund program loans in 2018. The proposed tax levy is consistent with the executive director's proposed 2018 capital budget, resulting in a tax rate of $1.73 per thousand of equalized property value, an increase of 0% over the prior year's tax levy. As I mentioned, a 2/3 vote is required by all commissioners on October 23rd at the full commission.
At the full commission.
Correct.
Okay. Any questions or comments on this item?
Approval.
I got a motion?
Second.
And I got a second. So a motion appropriately moved by Commissioner Bowe, seconded by Commissioner Eli. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is moved forward for adoption by the full commission. Item number 8, 17-101-10, approves updates on the commission policy, capital budget. Mark?
The Commission's requested approved changes to Commission Policy 1-1502, Capital Budget, provide Executive Director with the authority to make changes up to $50,000 or 10%, whichever is less, to total project costs related to the updated estimates for labor resource needs and minor scope modifications that occur outside of a contract modification or amendment. Again, this is for changes or additional costs being incurred to a project that does not result from a contract modification or amendment. The current policy language provides the Executive Director the authority to make changes to total project costs that has been previously approved by the Commission in accordance with Commission Policy 1-78.02, contract modifications or amendments together with any district labor costs required to implement these changes. The current policy does not provide the Executive Director the authority to make changes that are not specifically driven by contract amendments or modifications. The total project cost includes all estimated costs for activities to complete a single project. As projects evolve and move closer to completion, the estimates are subject to change. And total project cost is our strong financial internal control that we have that ensures that the total cost of the project remains within the approved amounts. Currently, policy provides two mechanisms to approve such changes. The first is commission approval that can occur during the annual budget approval or mid-year during a separate commission action. The second is executive director approval, and this is limited to changes related to contract modifications or amendments. So basically what we're asking here is that for additional labor or other minor expenditures that do not result are not caused by contract modification or amendments that would come to the commission. There are circumstances where these minor changes are needed to the total project cost and as I said, are not related to contract modifications or amendments. Executive director approval rather than commission approval would provide efficiencies in terms of timeliness and process, limiting the amount of the increase to $50,000 or 10%, whichever is less, provides a reasonable level of authority and also maintains our strong financial internal control. With that, I'll ask if you have any questions.
Any questions or comments? I know I have one. How frequent is this seem to have historically been in order to mandate a policy change?
It's not very frequent. Normally, we come under total project costs, and the normal actions that create an increase in total project costs is for contract modification or amendment. However, there can be cases where we need in-house additional labor just to complete the project or minor expenses, say permit fees or registrations at the courthouse for things like that, that may slightly push it over the total project cost. So we're trying to propose this as an efficiency.
It makes sense to me.
Move to approve.
Second. And we have a motion by Commissioner Swan and a second by Commissioner Bowe. Is that correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved for review of and a recommendation to the full commission. Item number 9, 17-102-10, declaration of excess lands and authorization to transfer 7 green seams purchase properties. I'll turn it over to staff. Good morning.
Morning. Steve Jakart, Intergovernmental Coordinator with MMSD. Item number 9 is a bit of housekeeping for the commission. We're asking you to approve a transfer of 7 green seams properties totaling 313 acres to Milwaukee County. 2 of the properties go to Milwaukee County, remaining go to either Ozaki Washington Land Trust or Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources. We've worked with these agencies and previously transferred green seams properties. to these partners. They're well equipped to manage them within their existing land holdings. The only cost of the districts for the transfers will be the closing costs, totaling not more than $14,000 for all 7 properties, about $2,000 per property. As you know, Green Seams is part of our flood management program here at MMSD. Typically, after we purchase a property and finish implementing any restoration activities needed on the sites, which can be in the form of reforestation, planting trees, or planting prairie cover, we work with the conservation partner to take a permanent ownership of the property, and then the partner agencies receive the properties at no cost in return for its agreement to maintain the properties in accordance with the terms of the permanent conservation easements. As part of each property transfer, we retain a conservation easement, which permanently protects the property from development and any other activities that would undermine its ability to naturally store and manage stormwater on the sites. These sites remain accessible to the public as well for passive recreational activities. We have a couple of maps here that show some of the clusters. Here's a nice cluster in the Oak Creek watershed, 2 proposed transfers that would go to Milwaukee County. Those other thatched properties, the commission has already approved us to transfer them to Milwaukee County, so we'll go to the county board and sometime in the hopefully not too distant future to gain their approval and then make the transfers. Then we'll get to the north end, north of our district area up in Farmington and Fredonia. This is the north branch of the Milwaukee River. As you can see, the proposed transfers that we have to OWLT or the Department of Natural Resources, and they're right next to a number of sites in blue that are already protected properties. This is near the Lake 12 area where we've purchased some properties with OWLT in the past. So with that, I could answer any questions.
I do have a question. Have you identified the partners for each of these parcels?
Yeah, so if you look at the back, there should be an attachment that has, at the back of your document at the end, it does list the who the partner is going to be that we're transferring, the number of acres, what the purchase price was the year that we purchased it, and then if there were any grant funds attached. Would be table 1 that's referenced within the document itself. So if you go to the end, so the Oak Creek investment property goes to Milwaukee County, the Ludwig property goes to Milwaukee County, and then the remaining ones go to OWLT or Wisconsin Natural Resources. We're still talking to those partners to see which is the best fit. There have been some changes the way the DNR looks at accepting properties. Now they only accept properties within their project areas.
Okay. Any other comments or questions from the commission? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Approval. Second.
Properly moved by Commissioner Bowl and seconded by Commissioner Swan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 10, 17-103-10, award of contract, M0103 1C01, Central Laboratory Heating.
Good morning, Commissioners. Anna Kettlewell, Commission Secretary. The Commission is requested to award and to direct the Executive Director to execute on behalf of the District Contract M01031C01, Central Laboratory Heating, Ventilation, and Air Conditioning Chiller Replacement to Belonger Corporation in the amount of $179,800. The Central Laboratory Building Heating and Ventilation Air Conditioning System includes a large air-cooled chiller. This chiller provides cooling for the central lab building. In addition to standard building space cooling, several rooms in the lab require tight temperature control for water quality testing and malorganite testing. Our existing chiller was installed in 2001 and requires frequent maintenance to keep it operational. The existing chiller also has a failing compressor, which is very expensive to replace. So we've determined that the most effective thing to do is to replace the entire unit with a higher efficiency unit. And this new unit that we're proposing qualifies for a $20,000 incentive rebate from Focus on Energy. So the scope of the project would basically be to remove the entire chiller and furnish and install a new chiller, the piping modifications, electrical and control work, startup and testing.
Any comments or questions on this item?
Approval.
Second.
And a motion by Commissioner Bowles, appropriately seconded by Commissioner Eli. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved for review for the full commission. Item number 11, 17-104-10, authorization of a public hearing regarding proposed amendments to MMSD rules, Chapter 11, discharge regulations and enforcement procedures to allow the discharge of non-contact cooling water. Turn it over to staff.
Good morning, Commissioners. Sharon Mertens, Division Director for Water Quality Protection. And this morning, the Commission is requested to authorize a public hearing, essentially, regarding proposed amendments to MMSD Rules, Chapter 11, which is our discharge regulations and enforcement procedures as required by Wisconsin statutes. The amendment would allow the discharge of non-contact cooling water, reverse osmosis concentrate and condensate to the sewer system in the separate sewer area and the riparian areas of the combined sewer area. So currently, our rules prohibit this discharge, and that was established back in the 1980s to conserve our treatment capacity for domestic and processed wastewater. And back then, the district didn't have a wet weather peak flow storage system. We had a lot more manufacturing. Water conservation practices were not that good. And we didn't have the programs that we have now to handle the flow that we have. So currently, there are conditions and rule amendments are proposed to allow the contact or the discharge of that non-contact cooling water. So with your approval, the next step is going to be a public comment period, including a hearing. And we would plan to have that hearing in early November, and another one in early January, so the earliest possible adoption date for this would be a February commission meeting. Are there any questions?
The question. All right, so the process here is that we have at least 2 public hearings within the next 90, 120 days. Is that about right?
We will have just one public hearing. I'm sorry if I misstated, but we have to have the proper notification periods for the hearing and to gather public comment.
Any questions or comments from fellow committee members? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion. A motion for approval by Commissioner Bowl.
Second.
And a second by Commissioner Swan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the item is approved for recommendation of full commission. Thank you. Item number 12, 17-105-10, approval of job contact value and job title. This requires, only requires policy and finance committee approval, so it stays here.
Good morning, Commissioners. Candace Richards, Human Resources Manager. The request is to approve the reclassification of one senior systems analyst at a grade 10 to systems analyst at a grade 12 to systems analyst at a grade 10. The reason for the request is to help us in our recruitment efforts of the senior systems analyst position, and it will also create a career ladder advancement for future incumbents to this position.
I think that's self-explanatory. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll take a motion for approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have an item, the item has been a motion by Commissioner Swan, a second appropriately by Commissioner Eli. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, the motion is approved and adopted. We'll turn to Organization Administration, Executive Director's Report.
We only had one item. We listed the capital budget and the O&M budget in case there was any comments or questions during the meeting, but since we have none, there's nothing to report.
Okay. Well, seeing other items, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Move to adjourn.
A motion appropriately by Commissioner Bowl. Need a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Swan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Seeing none, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
An MCM production.